The housing market, it just got a shot of adrenaline it's been waiting for. And if you're not paying attention, you can miss a huge opportunity. But there's a catch. The Federal Reserve is about to meddle in again with the real estate. I think it could ruin everything. As you know, last Friday, Jerome Powell announced that rate cuts are officially on the table. And within hours, mortgage rates dropped to their lowest level in 10 months and the real estate stocks shot up 5 to 10%. But what's troubling is now the Fed's, all of a sudden they're now worried about the housing market and see it as a potential risk to jobs. So now the Fed wants to jump in and fix the housing market. It's finally showing signs of healing naturally. What's going on here? We've got the cleanup of American cities happening. There's trade deals stabilizing costs. There's policies that have turned the market around in just 6 to 8 months. So what happens next could mean thousands of dollars gained or lost for a buyer, a seller, or investor. So I'm going to show you what's really driving the positive changes right now in our economy and what the Fed's interference in the wrong way in our housing market, my housing market, your housing market, I think could cost us all, and the exact moves you need to make before it gets all screwed up. Because by the end of this video, understand why the best thing the Fed can do for the housing market is absolutely nothing. I would say what's happened before January, last year, end of 2024, the housing market was stuck. It was terrible. It's like quicksand. Mortgage rates were hovering 7.5, 8%. Inflation was sticky. Consumer confidence, I say, in the basement. I'll be nice there. Buyers were paralyzed. Nobody wanted to lock in high monthly payments. Sellers didn't want to give up their 3 to 4% mortgages either. Builders, they were hitting a pause. I saw projects canceled. They were laying off workers. And to be honest, our cities were not in great shape. Rising crime, messy streets, businesses closing their doors. And if you lived in or near a major city, you could really feel it. I remember I lived close to Philadelphia. One of my subscribers told me, "Hey, Diane, why would anyone want to buy a house right now? Everything feels like it's falling apart." They really weren't wrong. That was kind of the climate then. Felt like everyone was holding their breath, and you know what the Fed was doing? They were kind of making it worse with their rate hiking campaign. It kind of crushed affordability while doing nothing to address the real problems. Fast forward to January, we had a new administration, new priorities, and whether you support them or not, here's what really happened. It's the facts, and it happened fast. And take notice, because none of this required any Federal Reserve intervention at all. If you've been watching the news, a corrupt member of the Federal Reserve was just fired. So what has been happening over the last 6 to 8 months? Focus was on restoring order to major cities, cleanup initiatives, stronger policing, investment in public safety, revitalizing projects. Suddenly, downtowns that felt unsafe start looking alive again. Why does this matter? Because when cities feel dangerous, people flee. And when they feel safe, people invest again. Next, you have trade deals and tariff negotiation that started, taking pressure off the cost. Builders had been getting crushed by lumber, steel, and all these other materials. Now prices stopped spiking. Some have even started easing. And it's given builders some breathing room that they needed. And the third thing I can see is the supply chain and energy policy adjustments slowed down the worst of inflation. Was it solved? No, but it wasn't spiraling anymore. So in just 6 to 8 months, the tone of the economy has shifted. Stock market stabilized. Small businesses are starting to see more foot traffic, and consumer confidence has really ticked upward. Think about it like a house. Before January, the country was that outdated listing. It was cluttered and messy and buyers walking right past it. But once the cleanup crews came in, the paint went on and the yard got mowed and buyers started seeing potential again. And that's exactly what's been happening in this economy right now, through real policy changes, not any manipulation by the Federal Reserve. People are now seeing the potential in America again. It's amazing. Realistically, the creation of the Federal Reserve was in the early 1900s. It was a progressive movement and supposedly was created to help the people. Now, they have done some great things, like making sure banks play nicey-nicey to each other and honor each other's checks and things like that. But the bigger picture, the Federal Reserve was supposed to stop large ups and downs in the market. Well, that hasn't happened over the years, has it? And the housing market has taken a hit. The housing market, guys, is based on supply and demand and not artificially setting prices and rates and things like that. That has never helped. So what's the news of the day? The news of the day is when last week, where Powell said the Fed is ready to start cutting short-term rates, the market went wild. Mortgage News Daily had a 30-year fixed rate at 6.55 right after the speech, down from 6.62. That was just right there, just the day before. That's the lowest we've seen in a long time, like 10 months. Real estate stocks, they shot up 5 to 10% in the middle of his speaking. And here's what's really happening. The Fed is panicking now because their own meeting notes, you read the meeting notes, they showed officials were worried about weakening housing demand and falling house prices. They're treating this as a crisis and that it needs their intervention. I don't get it. That's not what's going on here. Falling house prices are bad now? Weren't we just complaining that homes were unaffordable? Home prices have been falling, especially in the states where they had the most growth, in all but 1 month this year. That's exactly what needs to happen after this pandemic price explosion. There needs to be some kind of correction. I mean, the bubble was kind of created with these near zero interest rates, and now they're kind of afraid to let it deflate just naturally. They'd rather reinflate it than admit their policies caused the problem in the first place. It's kind of crazy. As you can see, I'm a little fired up here, but I think the Fed should stay out. Why? I feel what they don't want you to understand is that housing markets are supposed to have cycles. Prices that get artificially inflated need to come back down to earth. This happened back in 2008. New home construction permits, they fell to the lowest level since 2019, excluding the pandemic. And home builder confidence is declining. And the Fed, they see this as a problem they need to fix. I see it as a market finding its natural balance after years of artificial stimulus. See, builders, they got addicted to cheap Fed money, right? They overbuilt and they kind of got sloppy. And now they're learning efficiency again. It's amazing. And when speculators got easy credit, they drove up prices beyond what working families could really afford. Now these prices are coming back down to reality. The improvements we've seen in our cities, better trade deals right now, reduced inflation. This is all happening through actual governance, not monetary manipulation. That's all I'm trying to say here. The housing market is starting to heal naturally. Let it go, because real estate economic fundamentals are now being improved. Possibly they feel left out of this past amazing 8 months of recovery. They see these falling prices and think, oh my God, there's another crisis. That's what they do. They create crises and they think they're like coming in to be the hero, and it basically just needs correction. It's not a crisis. So home sellers, here's your reality. Sellers, what they should be doing now is really to understand what's happening. I know a lot of you home sellers over the last few years have just sat out, told yourself rates are too high and buyers aren't buying, it's not worth it, I have nowhere to go, all these different stories. But this could be a wake-up call. Buyers are already starting to come back. They were before Powell even talked. That was real economic improvements. So we don't want the Fed to juice demand artificially, because that could create another boom-bust cycle, right? And this is kind of where my Home Selling Sharks book framework becomes a lot crucial, because remember, buyers, not sellers, set market value. I mean, they kind of do it together, but sellers decide on a market price and buyers go for it, they don't. But you really want buyers making decisions based on real value, not some induced speculation, right? This is why you need a real deal realtor by your side when you sell your house. And I can help you vet a real good one. Don't just go hiring some realtor off the street or, just on a phone book, or there's phone books off the internet. Make sure they stay accountable to your bottom line and stay with you every step of the way. I just found 3 realtors for my YouTubers last week. They're very happy. So go to realdealagent.com to get the home selling process started. This is where it all begins, with a realtor. But you want not just any realtor, you want a listing-based realtor who runs a listing-based business. You want them by your side. These people and these realtors only list homes, like me. I only list homes. I don't work with buyers. I have a marketing budget. That's what they'll have. They have experience. They know how to handle turbulence. They know how to price a home, how to stage it to sell fast for the best price. That's kind of what I do. All these strategies are my Model Home Mindset book. and are more important than ever right now. Fresh paint, decluttering, staging, professional photography, a real marketing strategy that focuses on genuine value, not artificial demand created by a central bank intervention. And are there any pros of selling now? Well, you can capture, improving fundamentals before Fed policy creates another bubble. The cons of waiting, you might get caught up in some artificial demand that inevitably crashes. Several of my clients this year decided to take the plunge. They called me, we prepped their house this summer. We focused on real value versus, chasing any kind of Fed policy or what buyers are going to do or not do. We just forgot about that. We had buyers calling with offers before their home even went on the market. Why? Because the house showed well, I staged it, and it was priced for real market conditions, not monetary manipulation. And if you're a home buyer out there, just don't get played. Let's talk a real game being played here. If the Fed cuts rates too much, too aggressively, demand could explode artificially. That means bidding wars again based on cheap credit, not actual value. Cannot let this happen again. And if you think today's prices are high, wait until institutional investors flood back into a Fed subsidized money. It's ridiculous. That's what happened back then. What's the play? Well, focus on fundamentals, okay? Not any policies. If you find the right home at the right price that makes sense for your income and local market, make your move. But don't get sucked into artificial frenzy, okay? Remember, the improvements in the economy, cities are safer, we have stable supply chains, better governance. Those aren't going away if the Fed doesn't intervene too aggressively. Then you could end up buying at the top of another artificial bubble. Oh, I don't want to have another one of those. I don't really think this administration will just allow it. It's not going to happen. I think smart money focuses on real value, not some manipulation of a bank. So what's the big picture? Well, let the markets work. Feds should take a back seat and stop manipulating the market. The housing market is now healing naturally. Cities are safer, supply chains are stabilizing, inflation has been cooling, builders are getting more efficient, prices are finding sustainable levels. This has all happened over the 6 to 8 months, about 8 months now, without any intervention from the Federal Reserve. In fact, it happened despite the previous rate hike. The Trump administration has been asking to lower rates for a couple months now. Things could have even been better if they'd done it sooner. It has to be done strategically, not to create another market frenzy of bidding wars and increasing prices. I think 2026 could be a balanced, healthy market if we let natural forces work. No intervention to create this frenzy. So what's the key takeaway? I think this is a natural reset that benefits everyone except speculators and central planners. I think it's a natural reset. I think things are just going to work its way out. But the most important thing of you sellers, you're going to have to put a little bit more time and effort into selling your home. You can't just sell your house and do nothing. So the bottom line, let's let the economic improvements do their work. Let prices find their sustainable levels, let builders compete on efficiency and not access to this cheap credit. So whether you're buying or selling, don't base your decisions on what the Federal Reserve might do next week or not do. Focus on real fundamentals. You'll never lose. The real value, the real market condition in your area. And if you're in my area, let's connect. Talk strategy that works, regardless of any policies. And if you're outside my area, just go to realdealagent.com. And I can match you with an agent who focuses on real markets, not central bank and their games and things that they do. Before you go, if you're selling, you'll definitely want to watch my next video. Don't let this mistake kill your home deal. Oh my gosh, home inspections. They're the #1 deal killer in real estate. I'll walk you through exactly how to protect your equity and keep your deal alive.